do our best to make.
Right, welcome back. The breakfast at Rio Denver 99.1 FM this Friday morning. We're keeping tabs on developments in and around the country, making sense of them. Thank you for staying tuned. Zeno.fm is the website to listen live. You can also download the online radio box app. You find us there. Straight to our topic of discussion for today: discriminatory practices against women, a scrutiny of the Igbo culture and tradition. Culture, they say, is the ideas, customs, and social behavior of a particular people or society. It is the collective expression of a community's identity passed down through generations. And the vibrant tapestry of global cultures, the Igbo culture stands as a testament to resilience, beauty, and historical richness. The culture spans centuries, embodying rituals, customs, and a profound sense of community. It is characterized by its colorful ceremonies, intricate art, and a reverence for tradition. However, beneath the surface of this culture lies a hidden reality which has drawn attention. Renowned author Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie recently shared a part of the story, bringing attention to discriminatory practices in the kolanut breaking tradition. According to her, in a specific setting in her hometown of Abba, Anambra State, she raised questions about the customary practice of passing the kolanut exclusively to men. She saw the practice as discriminatory towards women. As a result of this, she initiated a conversation with the elder overseeing the kolanut breaking, prompting a reconsideration of the practice. The elder, after reflecting on her concerns, agreed to show the kola to her, marking a small yet significant step towards challenging and reshaping gender-biased traditions in the community. This revelation, which has generated a debate, prompts us to scrutinize other facets of Igbo culture where discriminatory and repressive practices towards women persist, from gender biases in communal rituals to limitations on women's participation. Certain traditions have faced criticism for perpetuating inequality. Such cultural norms raise profound questions about the evolving nature of traditions and their compatibility with modern values. As we confront these aspects, it becomes crucial to ponder whether it is time to reevaluate entrenched cultural practices. In a world where cultures evolve, adapt, and reshape, why do some Igbo traditions resist the winds of change? Are there inherent values in these practices, or is it a resistance to questioning age-old norms? Scrutinizing the Igbo culture prompts us to navigate this delicate balance between preserving heritage and embracing progress. My name is Njideka Chisem Chinedu, co-anchor, is still here, as well as an analyst, comrade Aloysius at Public Affairs, a commentator, political scientist, and of course, a president, civil society organization, South East Zone. So, comrade, I don't know if you watched that clip or if you had the time to watch it or you came across it. I don't know if you share in the belief that some traditions are seen as discriminatory, not protective of women, or you think they are just harmless things that people pontificate on unnecessarily.
Well, I watched the short clip from Chimamanda, and I know also that one is not the only one. Yeah. I've seen the lady or the woman propagating and pushing so many things to show that he's a feminist, and that because he's been able to break a world record as a renowned writer, that whatever man can do, women can also do better.
Is that why you think she's on this?
So is a typical feminist pushing everything as if equality. Yes, I'm an activist, and but the truth of the matter remains that culture and tradition should be respected. Okay. And there are some harmful cultural practices which should be discarded.
Such
But
as-
certain traditions that the Igbo culture and other cultures, not even only Igbo, every community on its own has its own culture.
Yeah.
Even America has their own culture. You cannot take that away. So some of these things are people's way of life, which they use to safeguard some certain things around their place. You don't just challenge it anyhow because you are too exposed that you are learned and what have you.
We will
So-
get to the part where you think that such cultures are to safeguard some things. We will also explain the things they are safeguarding. But I also want to make reference to the fact that she's not alone on this. It remains debatable whether she's doing it because she is now world renowned. And whether she could have been doing it in her later corners if she had not become prominent as she is today. But I think we also need to understand that people actually agree with her that certain cultures are quite repressive. It's not about somebody becoming prominent, but the fact that they continuously seek out women can be respected, not because they are women, but because they are human beings, first of all.
Yes, agreed. Like I said, I don't support anything, a harmful cultural practice that endangers or treats any human being as a lesser person. But certain things in certain communities should be respected. In Igbo land, for crying out loud, men and women are not equal. Take it or leave it.
On what basis?
So, and even Bible, even God created it that way. That the
On
man,
what basis? Yeah, we understand.
the basis that man is the head,
Okay.
the woman is the neck. If I should use that word. So most times also yes, the head and the neck goes together because if you cut off the head, the neck is almost like can't stand on its own, and you can't cut off the neck also without the head. But the fact is that some of these things are there in Igbo culture to still give man that semblance of being the head, to elicit that respect from the man, from the women.
So that's the only value attached to this kind of culture, like breaking kolanut, the fact that the man is the head. There's no other value.
Igbo ontology and what have you is very deep.
Okay.
I must confess that I don't know much in terms of the deep cultural things
the one you participate in and you
embedded
see
in
every day.
like this kolanut ritual of a thing.
Yeah.
So there are so many things there, but the fact is that there are certain things women doesn't do in Igbo land that is an exclusive preserve of the men, and it's been there over the ages. So while we are advancing in education, good and fine, it's good to interrogate some of them, see how you can sieve out certain ones that are actually harmful to the womanhood and what have you. But it shouldn't be a crusade, as in why should the men be taking absolute control of these things? What makes men different from we women? That is where I have issues with Chimamanda.
Okay.
So
Okay.
You know, comrade, I share your sentiments. I've always been of the opinion that men and women really have nothing to drag. I mean, there are gender roles regardless. Nature made it so. The fact that a man cannot conceive biologically, naturally, and bear children is proof that whoever you believe is in charge of creation, if you believe it is Chukwokike, if you believe it is God in heaven, made gender roles.
Yeah.
Okay, and so there are certain things that I've been trying to connect. For instance, dating back to my exposure to literature, there are meetings that are held. Say there is a problem in the community. More often than not, women are not called out to come say, let's tackle the issue. Because back in the day, men were the sole protectors.
yes,
So when they hold these meetings, you find out that there are literally only men there. So it is normal for men to break kolanut and bless kolanut. But I think over time also, we have started having gatherings of men and women. For instance, when marriages happen, there are certain things or certain traditional marital rites that are still carried out with our women. Where I come from, bride price is not paid in the presence of women. It is paid in a secluded place by just the men. The men from the both families come together. They deliberate and finish the bride price rituals. But look at the funny thing. Where I come from, my grandmother will take my bride price if she's there. Seriously.
Wow.
The grandmother of the girl takes her bride price
So
if she's still alive.
Tradition.
Exactly. There are variations in tradition. So the men decide and they bring back something to her.
I'm hearing this one for the first time.
I do not like it.
Maybe not
You don't
totally,
like it.
but they bring something back to the girl's grandmother.
Yes.
Yes. So there are variations to these things, and I think we should, while we push for these equality, this equity and equality, depending on what exactly you're pushing for. I think these things. Chimamanda Adichie has always been a preacher of equality. I mean, today she's talking about kolanut, but she has also talked about several other things.
That's what I'm saying.
As regards better treatment for women in Igbo culture. I mean, we have also deliberated on the issue of women starting to get inheritance. And I remember some states actually tried to deliberate on that in their own house assemblies. And so that way, beyond tradition now, the other day we talked about tradition and where tradition stops and government takes over. We realize that there are some things that government will make tradition do or help tradition achieve.
Yes.
That way, there is a legal backing. If you don't do this, you get persecuted. But tradition-wise, I think tradition has some sort of covering. You wait for the gods to punish you or you just go scot-free. So, it is kolanut today. For me, this idea of, she said in that video that when she made her case, she was shown the kolanut as against a case where it is broken and just shown to the men. But it's now shown to the women. I see this as just one of those ones, But there are so many other cultures, things that happen to women that we need to talk about. For instance, I've always asked that question of why a man dies and the things that the woman has to go through are different from what the man has to go through if his wife dies. I mean, what is sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander. And regardless of the gender, someone has lost a spouse.
Yes.
So I think we should start getting to that point where the things that a widow goes through are supposed to be the same thing a widower goes through. But you find out that, unfortunately, there are almost no written rules for what a widower has to go through.
So, Camry, can you explain it? Because I was waiting for you to talk about how this culture is to safeguard whatever. And then you went back to how physically men and women are not the same. When you look at some of the grievances against certain cultures and tradition in Igbo land, it's because of this belief that you are not equal, you're equal, as against the same treatment, equal treatment, justice meted out to everybody. I've heard people say, well, they become cynic when people challenge things like kola not breaking, and they tell you, okay, why don't you go and dig grave? So in their own estimation, men get these privileges because they do labor-intensive work, all right? Chisholm pointed out how there are gender roles, but it would seem that men see it as not gender roles, but inequality. Don't you think it would be quite difficult to actually convince people like Chimamanda that these are gender roles as against, subjugation, or that I'm not equal or you're not equal to me? How do you go about convincing people like that?
Well, what I did say is the fact that some of these things were conceived by the progenitors, sort of to still give men that semblance of there's a kind of prestige a man is supposed to retain. That if you lose it, you can just be treated like anybody by your wife or your children. So some of these things, because like you said, men, there are certain gender rules. There are certain things men do which women ordinarily cannot venture into because of maybe the peculiarity of that very task. It may be so tasking for the female, or it may even have health implications for the female and what have you. So, but these things actually, with the advent of technology, civilization and what have you, they are being interrogated. I am also of the view that they can be interrogated to see how certain ones that tend to limit women from achieving their potentials and what